Good morning, and thank you for joining us once again on a Thursday for one of our webinars in our webinar series. And this week, we're very excited to be presenting to you the final webinar of Open Maps for Europe, our project, and also looking into the future for Open Maps for Europe 2, the sequel. So we're very happy to have you here. We have a Slido going. So please don't forget to interact with us. You had the QR code where you can either point your device and automatically go into Slido, or else use the code, which is hash EG-WS22-15. So this week's Eurogeographics webinar, as I said, is all about Open Maps for Europe, and we are going to have two presenters this morning from our Eurogeographics head office. So we have Victoria, who is going to be talking about the success story that is Open Maps for Europe, followed by Sally, who's going to be talking about the sequel of OME2, which is the future looking ahead. After which we will have Slido for your questions, and of course our speakers will answer these. And please don't forget to put the name of the person you're addressing the question to, because we will take them all at the end. So we do have an icebreaker question happening at the moment on Slido. So Giuseppe, can you please give me the screen, please, so I can show the results of the polls? And I can see that 11 of you have already started responding to the polls. I just want to show the results. What's happening? Here you go, and we're very happy to see that the vast majority of you, 91%, have used the OME interface. So thank you for that. And Giuseppe, can I please ask you to now share Victoria's screen so she can give us a look at what the OME project was all about. Victoria, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you see my screen well, please?
Yes, Victoria, we can see your screen very well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carol. Well, welcome everyone to this presentation called then OME, a success story. So I'm Victoria. Some of you may know me already. Some of you may not haven't seen me. I'm the project manager at Eurogeographics, and I took over from Angela Baker a couple of months ago. So thank you so much for giving me about half an hour of your time to talk about OME's history, success, and challenges. And I'm going to start a little bit with the history. So the OME success story started in 2009, and the country was Brussels. The city was Brussels. Eurogeographics at this time was consolidating our members' data and licensing it to users for a fee. But then the market, the previous decade had changed for the market for geographical data. Less accurate data was freely available, and it was appealing to users because it was so easy to access it. So Eurogeographics at this time, we made the decision to investigate what possibilities we had to adapt to these new circumstances. And we made an analysis to be able to make informed decisions on how to move forward. And this analysis was based on Porter's 5 forces and a high-level SWOT analysis. And what came out of these decisions was a new strategy, and one part of that was a project funded by CEF. So CEF is the Connecting Europe facility. It's a European Union fund that was established in 2014, and it is there to support infrastructure investments across the European Union in transport, energy, digital and telecommunication projects. And the aim is to have a greater connectivity between EU member states. So you can see that the OME project fits fairly well into that description. So the objective of this new CEF project, which came to be called the Open Maps for Europe, we had I want to present 6 of them here to you today. First of all, we wanted to make ERM and EuroDem available under an open data license. And ERM and EuroDem are 2 of our products. I'll show you a little bit more about them in a second. We also had other products. We had Euro Global Map, Regional Gazetteer, the Cadastral Index Map, and we wanted to improve these products. We also wanted to include an additional product, an image service that relied on data from the Copernicus Earth Observation Program. And we had a interface from the Open ELS project, but we wanted to develop that one and enhance it further. So our goal was to define what our user needed from a gateway, I'm sorry, and then implement changes to be in line with those needs. We wanted new delivery methods. Before, we used to deliver the data on CD-ROMs, and we wanted to develop application programming interfaces, or APIs. Now, this work was led by Eurogeographics, but it was very much supported by IDEA Belgium. And when I talk about APIs, I talk about, for example, web map services and web feature services. These are ways of delivering data, and that you can do. I will show you a little bit about it later as well, but easier ways of delivering data. We also wanted our products and our portal to be integrated with the European Data Portal, and we had some dissemination objectives as well. Originally, we wanted to make 4 case studies and present the Open Maps for Europe at least 4 events. So when it comes to the project results, the actual products that are available on the OME portal today are these 6 products that you see here. I'll go through them one by one. We first have Euro Regional Map. The scale is 1 to 250,000, and it has the layers boundaries, population, transportation networks, hydrography, geographical names, and vegetation. Now, this product is updated every year, but not all of the layers are updated every year. Some of them are updated every 2 years or every 4 years. And those that are updated less often, such as geographical names and vegetation, are also layers that change less often. We have Euro Global Map. The scale is 1 to 1 million. The layers are boundaries, population, transportation networks, and hydrography. This product is updated every year, and it's created from the Euro Regional Map and the Euro Boundary Map. So the Euro Boundary Map is a product that we still have, but it's not, there's still a market for it, so it's not an open product. Further, we have a digital elevation model of Europe. It is members' data filled in with open data, and it covers all of our members. We also have this imagery service that we wanted. This is a product from BKG, and it is satellite data over all of our member territories as well. And we have a gazetteer. This is a product with place names in different languages. And this is especially important in areas such as Brussels, where you have more than one official or commonly used language. And we have the cadastral index map. So this product shows the cadastral parcels. And we currently have 6 countries that's covered by this, but we are working to increase the coverage. Those are the products that came out of OME, or the enhanced and better products. And I would like to show you the enhanced portal that we have developed as well. So if you go to maps4europe.org, you will see our portal. And the first thing you will see is the welcome page, where it says Open Maps for Europe, provide an easy access to pan-European open data created using official map, geospatial, and land information. If you want to access the data right away, you can click on the Access Data tab, and it will take you to the Access Data page. And our users can also explore the data before they download it or before they integrate it into their geographical information system, or GIS. If you scroll down a little bit, you have access to our different products here as well, and then a little bit of information about Open Maps for Europe. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a drop-down menu where you can also access the visualization of the maps, you can access the data, and then you have information about the different data sets. So if I go to Euro Regional Map, for example, you'll see that you'll have a little bit of information about it. There's the last update, the themes involved, the coordinate system, sorry, and the formats that the product is available in. You also have dataset documentation, such as technical specification and attribution documents. Then you have a map which shows the coverage of the dataset, and you have a list of the areas that are covered as well. If you want to view this on the map, we created a visualizing service, and now you see the Euro regional map. If you scroll in, if you zoom in, which you can do by scrolling or by using the zooming tabs, you will see different layers depending on the zooming level that you are in. If you want to see the full extent of the data, you click on this tab right here. And if you want information about one of the features, then you click on the I tab and on one of the features. Now, this is a function that is very important for many of our users to be able to get an overview of the data. It is a function that we are working on to try to get developed to make a little bit more user friendly. And if you want to know what the data sets are available in a certain location, you click on this one and you click anywhere on the map and you will see what data sets are available. And then you can change the data set. We can look at, for example, the pan-European imagery, and you get a view on that data set. And to use the gazetteer on our portal, you go up in the upper right-hand corner and you can write an area that you would like to move to. So me originally, I'm from a town in Sweden called Gothenburg. But what's good about the gazetteer is that I don't actually have to write in the name in English. I can write it in Swedish, which is my native language. And it will give me, if I write it correctly and if I don't misspell it, it will give me the name of the area, it will give me the area in Swedish. And I can also search for it in English, and then it will give me the name of the area in English as well as in Swedish. Now, if our users want to access the data, they go to the Access Data page. And here they can choose which products they would like to access and in what way, if they want to download it or if they would like to use a web service such as a web feature service. They have to agree to our license terms, and they can easily read the license terms by clicking on the name license terms. And then we do ask them to provide an email address. And this is not so that we can send them a lot of information or a lot of publicity. This is so that we can have some way of counting how many users that we have, because that is something that we need to report back to the European Commission. And once you have done that, or our users have done that, they will receive an email that looks pretty much like this, and where they get the URLs that they can use to access the data in their GISs. So the OME project has been a success. We have made our members' data available for a larger public. We have increased the quality of the data, and we are contributing to a more secure and financially stable Europe. And when I say we, I really want to emphasize here that I'm not talking about only the Eurogeographics team. I'm talking about we as in us together with all of our members and producers, because this really has been and continues to be a team effort. So the we is you included. For the availability, you saw the interface. So the interface makes the data more available to the users because it's much easier for them to both visualize the data and to access it. We've opened up a lot of the data, and we've put in place a comprehensive licensing for the open data, which is what we wanted to do. And I think our goal was to put in place, open up the data for 80% of our users for ERM, and we have exceeded that with a lot. And then we also have made a lot of communication. So I mentioned earlier that our goal was four events, and we have presented OME in much more events than that. Just to mention two or three, actually, the Geospatial World Forum in 21 and 22, and also the FME World Tour in 2022. But there's a communications report that is coming out next week that will list all the events and all the webinars where OME has been featured. So that's a goal that we have vastly exceeded as well. And this really shows in our user numbers. So I would like to show you these two figures right here. The first one on the bottom is the registered users that we have by data sets. So we have different colors for different data sets, and this starts in September 2021 and goes until October 2022. And these are not the number of users registered every month. These are the number of additional users registered every month. So we have a steady increase in users every month and has had that since we launched the portal. This second figure that I want to show you up here, this is the total registered users on the OME portal since September 2021 and until October 22. Since we are now available on the European data portal, these numbers could be expected to increase. We're still waiting to see the effect of that. And I want to give you just a few numbers to compare with, because if you have numbers and nothing to compare with, then the numbers doesn't really say that much. So for Euro Global Map, we originally had 7,446 users in 2019, and our goal was to increase that with 10%, and we have had 1,800 additional users, so we reached our goal there. Now, Euro Regional Map is even more impressive because we didn't have many users in 2019 for the Euro Regional Map. Now, our goal for Euro Regional Map was to increase the number of non-academic users, and because we don't have that much information about our users, we just asked them to give us their email address. We cannot for sure know if these users are academic or not, but we have been able to estimate that the use of Euro Regional Map had increased with 800%, and our goal was to increase it with 50%. So in addition to the availability, we have also increased the quality of our data. The visualization, once again, it allows our users and our producers and ourselves to see the data and therefore to more easily detect errors, which allows us to correct the errors much faster. We also have a quality assessment tool for the Euro Regional Map. Now, this was led and developed by Cadastre Netherlands. It's a tool that was, the aim was to put together all the tools that were already being used by the project management team and by the data producers to make the review process a lot more simple. And it did. It has reduced the time and effort for quality assessment for ERM, and it has also improved the quality of the final data set. For EGM, IGN France has developed a collaborative space to secure the security of this project, the quality of this product. And I also said that we are contributing to a better Europe. Now, this is a large statement to make, so I would like to support that a little bit better. Now, first of all, I think that participating in a successful project has brought our members closer together. And I think it's important to underline the work that you have put in together to get us to where we are today. We're also supporting the European Union Space Strategy and the Open Data Directive. So the licensing of or making data openly available is in line with the directive on open data and the reuse of public sector information. And in addition to that, we're supporting the work of the United Nations. So to support my claims in this, I would like to put forward the case studies that we have available on our webpage that shows a little more directly what our users use our data for. And the first case study is about the United Nations, and they use our data for crisis response. Among other things, they've used it for their GeoHub, one-stop shop, which is a GeoHub for geospatial information that was developed to handle the crisis in Ukraine. They also used our data for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and in general for decision making, to make informed decisions. The European Environment Agency is also using our data. So they use it to better visualize features on the ground. So they already have satellite data, which is great, but sometimes some things are, or oftentimes, some features are less visible in satellite data than they are in our maps. So they use it for that. For example, to see the extent of a city is easier to see on the ERM than in satellite images. And the Netherlands have done something really interesting with our data. They have created tactile mapping to make maps available to people with visual impairments. And this is something that they started doing in the Netherlands, and it was so successful that it is expanded to all of Europe. We also have the External Action Service, or EAS, that emphasizes the need for accurate data they can rely on, and they need it to plan mobility and investments in their military programs. But no good success story is without a cliffhanger, and we do have one as well. And ours is the remaining challenges, because we do still have some challenges that we are continuing to work with. So we work on the licensing. We want to expand the licensing to what we'd love to do, to expand it to all our members. We're especially working on the cadastral map for this. We're still increasing the quality of the data according to the user and producer feedback that we are continuously getting. And maybe one of our most tricky challenges is about user information. So on the one hand, we would love to know who our users are and what they use our data for, because that way we can be more in line with what the user needs. But on the other hand, gathering information about users is not really in line with the spirit of open data. So one remaining challenge is to try to find a good compromise between the two. But nevertheless, OME remains a huge success. It's a user-friendly, it's high quality, and it's a way to make a participation to a better Europe. And more than that, we did what we promised. We did it on time and within budget. So this is the end of this part of the OME-ology, and I believe that my colleague Sally will talk to you a little bit about the sequel OME2. So thank you to all of you. Just want to say thank you to the members for your participation, because this is a team effort, and we are very happy and very lucky to have such supporting and engaged members. And I know I talk for the whole Eurographics family when I say that we look forward to keep working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. That was a very comprehensive and interesting presentation with an overview of the success story that is Open Maps for Europe. And as you said, it has a cliffhanger and there's a sequel. And I will pass on to Sally in just a minute. But before that, I would like to remind you that you can post your questions on Slido, so that we will take them all at the end. So if you have any questions about OME, what we've done, and about anything about the project, please post your questions for Victoria. And now I'd like to hand over to Sally, who's going to give us maybe some information about the cliffhanger, maybe a teaser and a trailer, Sally, of what to expect in OME, the sequel.
Indeed, OME2. I hope, unlike most movies, that OME2 will be even more successful and more enjoyable than OME, although it will be difficult because, as Victoria said, OME really is a success story. Just to introduce myself, I hope that I know most of you, but I'm Sally. I'm the head of operations and association management, and I'm working closely with Victoria, both on OME, but very particularly on OME2. So I just want to spend a few minutes talking to you about this exciting sequel and how pivotal the OME2 project is for Eurogeographics and its members, as together with the management board, we really do believe that this will shape the future of Eurogeographics data strategy. So a little bit of an introduction, the strategy, just to talk to you a little bit about the bid and what the requirements were and what that means now we're successful in the bid, and then ongoing in terms of the future for data within the Eurogeographics strategy. So Eurogeographics strategy, as I'm sure many of you are aware, for the last few years has focused on facilitating access to members' data, to your data. And up until this point, one of the ways that we have done this is through the creation of the pan-European datasets. And through OME2, you are now aware, and I hope you were aware before, that many of these datasets are now open. And Victoria has also demonstrated to you how this has exponentially increased the number of users. Many of you will also be aware, and again, Victoria mentioned this, we have another dataset, Euroboundary Map, which we provide to the Commission through Eurostat, and that's also used significantly. And in fact, it's lovely to be able to talk to you today to say that we have successfully won the ongoing procedure for that contract. So for another 4 years, we will indeed be providing Euroboundary Map to the Commission. And that in itself is a really great success story. But alongside that, the Eurostat tender for the next 3 years also included a knowledge exchange element, which I hope I can also demonstrate how that also feeds into OME2 and the future data strategy. Now, because we've got such an increase in users, because we'd opened up a lot of our data, this gave us an opportunity to talk to some more of these users. And we have in fact undertaken a lot of user requirement studies, particularly with the Commission and with super users such as the EEA and Eurostat. And looking at these, the feedback and the investigations that we went to, it was clear that there were some key user requirements. As Victoria has shown, the data that we currently make available is really medium and small scale. But what our users would like is large scale data. There are some very key themes, and these include boundaries, transport and hydro. Our users would like us to have the ability to show change only updates, which many of you already do, of course, within your NMCAs, but that's not something that we have done previously within the production system we have for the smaller scale data sets. And although many of you now have your open data portals and are allowing users to get access to your data, when we spoke to the users, there was still a real requirement for the harmonization of data sets and proper edge match data sets. And although there are many data sets, as we know, available out there, another key importance, particularly for the Commission, is that it is authoritative. So policy decisions can be based on authoritative data. And finally, of course, we always work on geographic coverage, and that continues to be really important for the Commission users, and in fact, wider users too. So what we actually did then was look at how we could meet these user requirements, and we looked at the current building blocks within our data strategy. So we always have a base of knowledge exchange and, of course, your expertise in the management of geospatial data. Under OME, we'd created the OME platform, and for many years we've had the current data sets which are supported in their productions by BKG, IGM France and Cadastre. But in order to meet these new data requirements, we needed to look at how we could potentially build or look at a new production process for the creation of high value data sets. And at the same time as doing that, we were also made aware of the Digital Europe funding bid. And when this was released, we noticed that there were many elements between what we were doing and what we were planning to do and within the Digital Europe funding bid. And therefore, because that bid met our strategic objectives, we felt that we could bid for some of that funding to help us to achieve these activities. So there we go, Digital Europe funding bid. We also knew that that Digital Europe funding bid couldn't cover every single cost, so we were also looking at other revenue sources to help to support this piece of work. So the bid requirements, just to give you a little bit of background, the real objective of the bid, which is what really brought us into knowing that this helped us to meet our objective, was to boost the reuse of open public data across Europe for the development of information products and services. And also very specifically in the bid, this was linked to the high value data sets, another really important policy area for our members and indeed for Eurogeographics. The bid offered us 50% funding, and we had to have a minimum of 3 partners. We worked incredibly hard with many members to try and build that consortium, which we did. And many of you may also have seen us working incredibly hard because in Sarajevo, because the bid actually had to be submitted as we were running our General Assembly. It certainly, in terms of a sequel, Carol, made for a very exciting start to it, doing that at midnight on the final day of the General Assembly. But I'm pleased to say that really that helped us to get that bid. We had so much support from so many of you, and just the other details in there were what we were covering, and that was in terms of boundaries, transport, hydrography, geographical names. In fact, Victoria gave you a great demonstration, and also the open cadastral map. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about that. We agreed that during the project, because this is very much a prototype of that project, we would cover 7 to 10 countries, and the duration would be 3 years. The project consortium is actually made up of 6 partners, and these are the 6 consortium partners. So Eurogeographics will coordinate the OME2 project. However, we have huge support and input from IGM France, NGI Belgium, Cadastre Netherlands, Spanish Cadastre, and the Hellenic Cadastre. And also, in order to make this project a continuation of the OME project, it was important that we were able to continue with our subcontractors who had helped us to build the excellent OME2 portal. And that is a company called iDocs. And I won't go into Brexit discussions because it upsets me, but fortunately iDocs have a branch in France, which enables us to work with the iDocs France branch for our subcontracting. So that is very positive. And also we have the support of BKG as a subcontractor, because they also produce the Open Regional Gazetteer and ERM. And that allows us to bring them into the project as well. And of course, fundamental to all of OME is really you, the members, because it's important that you are able to provide your data. And without you and your skills and your expertise and your data creation, we wouldn't be able to do the project. So the work packages. We have the first one that you always have to have in an EU-funded project, which is the project management, which covers all the administration and the governance, and that will be led by Eurogeographics. The second one is all about communication, sustainability, the user management, and the very, very important element there of knowledge exchange. Under that work package as well, we also cover representation. And one of the important things that I want to mention with OME2 is that it pulls together all of Eurogeographics' different pillars of activity together, which is really fundamentally important to us. Again, Eurogeographics leads on that work package, but all partners have input into that important package, which covers those different areas, and indeed members filtering into that too. I also mentioned about Eurostat. Again, the knowledge exchange element under the Eurostat contract mirrors that knowledge exchange that is required to support this important piece of work. Work package 3 is about the enhancement of the user interface, so exactly as Victoria showed you, and the licensing element, which is supported by NGI Belgium. We then have 2 really fundamentally important work packages, which are about the technology and the techniques that we will create, which will enable us to answer what we will do in the project, which I will share on the next slide. But that really includes, so led by IGM France Work Package 4, the new production process for the creation of large-scale data, the management of the database and the coordination of the technical work, all the quality assurance, and also sits within there the production of our current data sets. Work package 5 will work very closely with work package 4, and these are on the tools of generalization, edge matching and harmonization. We also really importantly, following on from what Victoria said in Open Maps for Europe, under Open Maps for Europe, we were able to create a process for opening up, for creating a European open cadastral map. That's been very successful. It was a prototype under OME, but we know that that is one very high value data set that is really important to the Commission, and therefore we wanted a continuation of that. So OME2 also allows us for the extension of the current open cadastral map, and that requires also working with the subcontractor. So what does OME2, what's part of the project, what are we doing within OME2? Well, first of all, there is a continuation of that OME platform, and it allows us to deliver and continue to deliver the current data sets that we have under OME, while continually enhancing them and building on them where we can. And I think that's really important because, as Victoria shared with you, we now have some really big users who are embedding your data, the members' data, into their systems through that platform. And what we don't want to do, of course, is switch that off and stop them from having access to that data. So wonderfully, we can do that within OME2, and it builds on that success. But fundamentally, at the heart of the OME2 project is the creation of a prototype production system and the tools that will enable the creation of large-scale pan-European data sets to meet those user requirements we talked about. And as I said, we've tried to make this project really is very cutting edge. It's pushing what we can do. And this really is a prototype. It is a test case for understanding if we can do that. And what we start on doing is specifically for the boundary data set, hydrography and transport. And we work on a process that we know works for the open cadastral map to enable us to move that forward as well. The project, from a representation point of view and positioning Eurogeographics, aligns with the EU policies of the Open Data Directive and the opening of high value data and the evolution of the Inspire Directive. And so, as I've said a couple of times, OME2 is not just about data or the data activity, but it significantly incorporates our representation pillar and our knowledge exchange to support the innovation required to deliver what we need to within OME2. So we see a little more of a merging of activities to achieve the aims, with the emphasis always, as previously, on promoting the use and demonstrating the value of the members' data, of your data, and very particularly moving towards that high value data. And also to showcase the knowledge that comes from members and the expertise within your area. And therefore, we're looking at the 3 strategic pillars more closely aligning and working together. Now, I don't want to scare anyone, and I know this is very detailed, but I did want to show you just how many work packages and milestones that there are within the project, because I think it's important that you know how much work has gone into this. And to mention on that point, I said right at the beginning that we we were already working on how we could meet user requirements and how we could evolve our data strategy. When the funding opportunity came that aligned with it, it enabled us to see that that was an opportunity to meet those objectives. What we didn't do was try and search for funding. This funding came along, it fitted with our strategic objectives, and that enabled us to bid for it and bid for it successfully. And when we got the evaluation back, I think it's also important to share with you that it was an excellent evaluation of the project. They were really extremely happy with what we were proposing. And I think that really shows how we have aligned with their user requirements. We also had a lot of support to do that, not only from the project consortium, but also from a secondee from Cadastre Netherlands, who very much helped us to put this work programme together and enabled us to look at some of the processes that we would have needed to have done, which again helped us to put this successful bid together. So this is just a snapshot of, it doesn't mean much, but what I did want to share with you is the milestone that is circled on month 14, because that's when we have our first step of showing, we hope, fingers and toes crossed, that we can show a prototype just based on 2 or 3 countries for one layer, and it's likely we will be starting with the boundaries layer, to be able to provide some high value data sets, harmonised and edge matched between those 3 countries, so we have something to look at. One of the reasons OME was successful, and we hope OME2 will be very successful as well, is that we take an iterative approach into developing the system. So instead of waiting till everything's perfect, we have very many different milestones that allow us to show something to users, to show you, the members, what we're doing. Then we're able to get feedback, and then we're able to build on that. Again, I know this is a project management process that often happens in many of your NMCAs. So that milestone 4.1 is an important one for us, and one we will be working to starting from the 1st of January when the project starts. And then we will work on the other data sets, and during the course of the project, we hope to get up to 10 cross-border countries for boundaries, transports, and the hydro network. Just looking a little bit towards the future, if OME is a success and a brilliant sequel to OME, which I know it will be, it will produce a process and tools that help us to create large-scale, high-value pan-European data sets. But what's really important, I guess, from a strategic point of view, and to put this within context, is what happens next. So during this 3-year project, it's essential we look at the long-term sustainability of Eurogeographics and the data strategy. An investment into OME2, and it requires an investment from Eurogeographics supported by you, our members, is there to prove a concept that through a defined process, using specialised created tools and taking members' high-value data, it can be combined to make a pan-European harmonised edge-matched data set which meets user requirements. And this investment can be supported through the project. However, the issue is, how do we take this forward in the future? It's clear that the investment required to expand OME2. So, for example, we would of course want to increase the coverage to meet user requirements. We know that there are additional themes. We would need to maintain the production system. And we don't feel that that can continually be funded once you get into large-scale data by project funding or by continued funding from Eurogeographics and its members. This is not a sustainable solution. And as such, during the course of the project, starting in 2023, we will, under the representation pillar, start a dialogue with our key stakeholders that talks about what we do at the end of OME2 and the role that Eurogeographics and its members play in migrating perhaps from the data production to being an enabler. So focusing on providing the infrastructure to enable the users to access members' high-value authoritative data. Now, this may evolve over time, but in practice, what this means we may choose to hand the outcomes of the OME2 project over, so the processes and the tools, and support others to use those processes and tools to create what they require to meet their user requirements, harmonised, edge-matched, high-value data. Eurogeographics and you, our members, we know through the knowledge exchange, have the expertise to support users to do this, and can facilitate discussion between members and users. So that's a potential strategic move within the framework of the 3-year project to move to being an enabler. So this doesn't at all mean stopping data activities, but it means they're more focused towards you, our members' data, knowledge and expertise, and the core roles of our membership association of working together with you, our members. Finally, just before I finish, I have mentioned quite a few people within this presentation, and I really do want to say a huge thank you. It really took a huge group effort to put that OME2 bid together, and it will take an even larger group, including all of you, our members, to deliver it. But I want to thank those who are here, who have been so integral in this success, and a big thank you to all of you. Here is to a very successful future, a very successful sequel, and praying that OME2 is building on that success of OME1 and ensuring a bright future for NMCA's authoritative data. Thank you. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you, Sally. And it does sound like OME2, the sequel, is going to be just as exciting as OME original. So
I do hope so.
It sounds like it is exciting, and it is, but of course, it's going to be a very busy time for us all, yeah, to make sure that this is a success. We do have some questions, and I will ask our members to continue putting our questions on the screen, and I'm going to show the screen for the questions to Victoria and to Sally.
Thanks,
and
Carol.
the first. So the first question is, it doesn't say who it is, but I'm going to post it to you, Victoria, because it is about OME. And how can you increase the use of OME by policymakers, and is that your ambition?
Thank you, and thank you for this question. It is absolutely our ambition that policymakers will find OME useful and use it to support their decisions. And I think that the straightforward answer to this question is that the user requirements that Sally showed, perhaps especially the scale requirement, is something that we will be working on to make the data even more useful than it is today. So that is we can increase it, and we're planning on increase it, and the way that we're doing that is by OME2.
And just to add to that, Victoria, I think the other thing that we have that's positively going our way just from last week, we have really good case studies now and commission case studies, and we were able to talk about a bit those at the European Parliament event last week, which of course this now is about talking about it more and talking about the success. And some of the case studies that were created there as well, we'll be able to share those more. So absolutely it is that, and using that network of users to be able to push it out through that. So yeah, definitely an ambition there.
Thank you, Sally. And of course, the more case studies we have, the more it becomes a snowball. The more case studies there are that are published and showing the use of OME data, the more it is used. So it's a snowball effect, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know who would like to take this question, but were you surprised by which dataset proved to be the most popular?
I'll answer it. Poor Victoria probably wasn't here right at the beginning when we did the user requirements study. Not necessarily, I don't think. I think the usage already in the Commission of boundary data and the feedback that we continually have with Eurostat on that particular data set, we know that is used, and we know that there were requirements to enhance and improve that data set. So that one, no. I think also in terms of the hydrography network and the water network, much of this is linked to the climate change and emergency management. And again, of course, we spoke to the EEA and we work with them on Copernicus services. So we understand the hydro one. And the transport networks, again, perhaps not such a surprise in the current climate, particularly when you're working out, for example, migration patterns and patterns of movement across Europe. Those transportation networks, again, are very important. And also actually from working with OME and being able to first show the open cadastral map, of course, being able to show some large scale data and the detail of that data, again, makes that a very popular data set. So I think it was more a reassurance that what we thought we should focus on was indeed what the users wanted. So I don't think it was a surprise, but a kind of confirmation of the detail of the high value data sets that came out from the Commission, aligned with user requirements and aligned with the data sets that we believe that we can make a bigger and biggest impact on more immediately.
Thank you, Sally. So, of course, the data sets that were selected are obviously also selected but with some thought behind them, knowing their importance and them being fundamental or core data sets.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Victoria, go on.
Well, I just wanted to add also that I think that the one data set that had the most new users was Euro Global Map, and it has a smaller resolution than the Euro Regional Map, for example. I think that whereas it wasn't surprising that that was a data set that was popular, that a lot of users wanted, I think it does underline that even though high resolution data is sought after, the need remains for data with that is less detailed as well.
Yes, indeed, because of course it depends on the user need, doesn't it?
Yes,
so,
absolutely. Sometimes you want detailed data, and sometimes, for example, for the tactile maps that have been developed by Cadastre Netherlands, you actually need data that is correct, but that is less detailed, because when you are creating a tactile map for visually impaired, the white areas or the areas where you don't have any data input are very, very important as well. And in those cases, you would need a data set with less detail.
Of course. Very, it's a different type of mapping, so you have to always keep your user in mind. So thank you. And Sally, we talked about OME2. So how can members support the success?
Well, of course, what we're looking at in OME2 is we can build the process, we can build the tools, but without members' data, we can't create the data set. So really, it's about ensuring that we are able to have access to your large-scale data sets. Now, the process, which I won't technically talk about that because it's not my area of expertise, but indeed we should be able to, particularly from those with geoportals, pull the data from your national portals, and what it will require from members is some form of conversion table. So I'll try to explain very simply. At the moment, if you provide your data to pan-European products, you provide that data to a set specification. So some of you may create a very separate data set just for Eurogeographics to enable your data to go into regional map, which is generalized into global map. For large-scale data, it's really genuinely not possible for you to create a whole different large-scale data set based on a European specification. So, but what we need in order to harmonize data, of course, is to be able to have a European specification. But the technology now allows us to do something more clever. So in effect, we have a conversion table which converts your national data to a European specification. And that European specification will be built on Inspire, and also Carol mentioned core reference data and core data sets from the UNGGI and working group on core data. And those conversion tables will mean that we are able to pull the attribution and the objects from your large-scale data to put it into what I call the black box, the database of all that information on there. Now, if you don't have a portal, there is another way of providing that data to Eurogeographics. But we will have to, I mean, this is the large-scale ambition. Ultimately, this could be a long way along the line. As I said, it's about iteratively building this up. And so first of all, we will be looking at doing that for 2 to 3 countries, and then 7, and then 10. And that's for the topographic data sets. The other way that members can support OME2 and can do that now if you're cadastral members is that we do need access to your cadastral data sets. And by doing that with the current production system, that's through your atom feeds. And therefore, the ability for us to access your cadastral data through an atom feed will really support that work package, which can kind of, a very British phrase, that hit the ground running. That one can start working immediately because the process is already in place for the production of the open cadastral map. So if you have open cadastral data, then we need to work with you to get that into that product.
Thank you, Sally, for a very comprehensive answer. So I hope that provides members with some reassurance that they can support the success of OME2.
Absolutely.
And so we look forward to having them on board.
Just the other thing, Carol, as well. I mean, I talked about the data elements there. Of course, there's the other 2 pillars which I've talked about this pulling together of the different strategic pillars. We obviously will need members' knowledge and expertise for the knowledge exchange groups, which will help and support that technical development, particularly of the tools and things such as the lookup tables. So you can support the project by being part of those knowledge exchange working groups, and also in terms of the representation activity moving forward. So I think it's not only within this project about the technical side, it is also about the other 2 pillars of activity too, and really needing and wanting to pull on our members' expertise in both of those areas of knowledge exchange and representation.
So we look forward to engaging with our members then for OME2. So another question, Sally, because we've talked about it's going to be a different process, it's going to be a different way of doing things, a different way also making it easier for our members to provide large-scale open data. So do you think that the OME2 project will be a game changer for providing open large-scale data for Europe?
Very, very simply, yes. And I think that in a couple of ways. Firstly, as I just explained in that technical process, we're trying to make it as simple as possible. One, for users to get access to large-scale data, and we've noticed how good that is through the OME2 portal. But 2, in meeting their requirements. And I think firstly, it's taking the onus of members and asking our members, they have the data already, so it's about those conversion tables. So hopefully that makes it easier to access. I think in terms of meeting user requirements, absolutely. And I think what it also does is align, as I say, the activity and the importance of that high value data with the political agenda as well. And I hope, because we have the platform, the portal, and people are already used to using that, the access is there. Obviously, in terms of game changer as well, we're talking, and I talked about OME2 being, almost the prototype, almost the test case, showing how we can do this. Once we have a process and those tools, it may be that we decide to share that process and tools to many different users and support them with implementing the ability for them to be able to create that high value harmonized large scale data. And I think that's a real strategic shift and could provide many more users, super users or other users with the infrastructure, much larger infrastructure that Eurogeographics has, to be able to do that with us acting as the role of enabler and facilitator and providing the knowledge and expertise. So for me, yes.
Thank you, Sally. And you also partially answered another question, which was about the European policies, the EU policies,
Yes,
because you did
indeed.
mention that the OME2 project is going to build on how geodata contributes to implementation of EU policies. Do you want to maybe expand slightly on what you have already said?
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally for Eurogeographics members and for Eurogeographics, we focus on a number of policy and representation areas. And very importantly, we obviously have high value data sets and the open public sector, the Open PSI directive, so Open Data Directive. Obviously, that is absolutely how we are going to help members implement that policy through OME and indeed OME2. Linked into that is obviously the high value data. So being able to help members get their high value data used by Commission users. We're also looking as well in terms of, as I mentioned before, one of our super users is the EEA. And therefore there's the Big Space Programme and the EU policy around that and Copernicus. And again, that feeds very much into what we're doing. And of course, Inspire, because of the Inspire specifications and the feedback that we are able to give. And on top of all of that, of course, there is the Green Deal for Europe and the different data spaces that require authoritative and high value data. And so this really is a key strategic project for Eurogeographics and its members. And as I said in the evaluation, I think we got such a high evaluation and we were successful because we were able to demonstrate how many of those EU policies we could make a difference to, or our members could make a difference to.
So thank you, Sally. It looks like OME2 is going to tick a lot of boxes in many respects.
Yep.
So going back a little bit into what is going to be the past very soon, Victoria, what do you consider to be the greatest achievement of the OME project?
Oh, that's a lovely question as well. Well, for among the three achievements that we spoke about, availability, quality, and a better Europe, even though all three of them I consider great achievements, I must say that for this project, I believe the availability might be the greatest one. With the new interface, the opening up of the data, which has been quite a work, and the extensive communication that has been done over the past 3 years in events and online, among other things. I think that the availability for the data set has really increased a lot, and we could see that very clearly in our user numbers. And then of course the quality, and the quality adds into that because our users will have more use of the data when the quality goes up. But the out of the three, the availability is really the huge success of OME1.
Thank you, Victoria. I am conscious of the time because we are over time by about 5 minutes. So, but some of these questions that are remaining, we can maybe answer very quickly. So,
Yep.
Sally or Victoria, where will OME data be stored during the project period and also in the future? Maybe not so quickly this one.
During the project period, IGM France will be storing the data. In the future, we don't know as yet. That's part of the strategy and what we will be looking to in the future. But as part of the project, IGN France have the database, if you like, where it will all be stored.
Okay, thank you. And another quick question for you, Sally, is which countries will provide data for OME2?
Well, initially, when we do the prototype, we will be looking for the data from the project partners in effect, because we need to be able to move that forward quickly and work closely and put the time down to that. But obviously, what we will be looking for is to expand that and look for 7 to 10 countries. Initially, again, we will look at cross-border countries because it's important we show the cross-border. But that will be looked at in terms of as part of that first part of the analysis to find out which members have the data on the portal, how it can be pulled, etc. So that will evolve as we move forward. But fundamentally, initially, the project partners expanding to EU27 due to the policy area around the high value data and making it available. But of course, for all of it, Eurogeographics has equally as many members outside EU27 as we do in, and we would want to move that across as well to all people who could provide it. But again, that may be something for the future when those processes and tools are proved.
Okay, thank you. And then another quick question, which we all know that scale is relative. So when you're talking about scales for large scale data sets, for the high value data sets, what scales are you talking about?
Well, we're basically talking within the project of around a 1 to 10,000 data set. But it's more, when I talk to all the technical teams and always learn a lot from them because they're fantastic, it's really about attribution and the objects that you require, not necessarily always about scale. But within the project, arbitrarily, it is around a 1 to 10,000 scale.
Okay, thank you. And then you've answered this question already, Sally, about whether INSPIRE requirements were taken into account with the OME2 specifications.
Yeah, 100%. So the European specification that we will look to create will be based on the INSPIRE requirements, based on the INSPIRE specification, with knowledge and expertise also brought in from the UNGGIM working group on core reference data.
Yes, thank you for that. Very quick answer. And now, Victoria, have users exceeded your expectations? The users of OME, of course.
Yes, absolutely, by far. So we were aiming at increasing user numbers by 20, 40, or 50%, and we have increased them across the board by well, always above, but oftentimes for several projects with several 100%. So it has vastly exceeded all of our expectations, and I'm very happy for that.
That's fantastic. That's really, really great. So thank you. And the final question, Sally, I left it to the end because you might want to expand on that. How are the European stakeholders looking at the strategy of Eurogeographics? And what is your feeling as the OME2 coordinators of this?
Okay, well, look, we've been able to have some really good close discussions with some of our super users and very particular people that we work with closely in terms of the EEA and Eurostat. I think it is absolutely fair to say that both are incredibly supportive and excited about OME2. And in fact, I shared with you that Eurostat, in fact, added an element into their new tender which looked to support OME in the terms of knowledge exchange and are providing funding for some of those knowledge exchange activities to ensure that we can move forward with this strategy. So absolutely very positive there. And please bear in mind as well, of course, many of you will know, Eurostat coordinate the GISCO group within the users of geographic information within the Commission. And so their view there is very important. I was also lucky enough to be able to go to a meeting in Copenhagen with the EEA linked to the contract that we work on with them, and I had an opportunity to talk over lunch in a very detailed way with Henrik Steen Andersen, who's always been very, very vocal on Eurogeographics and very supportive. And again, it is very fair to say that they are very positive about OME2 and want to do what they can to support that. And indeed, I already had a conversation with him about what the future looked like. So sharing some of those thoughts about the requirement to make it sustainable and what that sustainability looked like. And so I think for them, it's about being bought into the process. And one of the other things that we have within OME2 is a stakeholder group. It was very important for our partners, so our members who are part of the consortium, to know that what we were delivering was meeting those stakeholder requirements. And as such, we have a stakeholder group that pulls in some of these really important people, EEA, DG Connect, Eurostat, JRC, etc., to be part of this project and to ensure that the way that we're moving in terms of our data strategy and moving forward is accepted by them. So my overall feeling is a very positive one. in terms of the long-term sustainability and either finding funding to ensure that we can do all of this work, or indeed providing all the information to different infrastructures or different bodies who can then do it themselves, is how we will work with them. But I think the move towards opening up the high value data is in line with our stakeholders' expectations, with some of those tweaks and changes, and therefore I am very positive about the buy-in that we have from them.
Fantastic, Sally. That sounds like a really positive outlook, and very encouraging for the OME2 project moving forward. And that is the last question we have this morning. So I'd like to really thank you, Victoria, and you, Sally, for giving us an overview of OME and
thank you very much.
Looking into the future, OME2. So thank you for your time. And of course, thanking our members for joining us this morning. And I would remind you that the presentations and the recording from this webinar will be made available on the Eurogeographics website on our webinar series webpage. And I would also invite you to join us again next week, next Thursday, for the last webinar that we will have this year for 2022. And in fact, we will be looking back at what we have done and what Eurogeographics has done together with you, our members, for 2022, and share some of our highlights and have a little bit of festive fun and celebration. So thank you again, once again, for joining us this Thursday, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Carol. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Carol. Bye.